Good morning, everyone. How is everyone doing this morning? Excuse me. Hope everyone's doing well. Welcome to Passion, Purpose, and Possibilities. Awesome. Sorry, 1 second here. All right. So, hope everyone's doing well on this Friday morning. Today's episode is brought to you by Kenny Ingersoll TV. Go to kennyingersolltv.weebly.com to check it out. Love to have you visit there. Couple exciting things going on. And I'm going to talk about one right now, and the other one I'll talk about after we bring in our guest because it involves him too. But the first one I want to talk about is a collaborative book project that I am doing. So go to ingersollenterprises.weebly.com/books and check out all the information if you want to be part of it, if you want to learn more. I'd love to chat, love to connect, see if it's a good fit for either parties, whatever, and see how we can help each other out and getting involved and sharing our messages that way. So again, go to ingersollenterprises.weebly.com/books to check it out. So today's guest, excuse me, is Phil Stenger. Now, he's a creator of Studio Spotlight 9. I had the privilege of being on that recently. It was an awesome opportunity, and he puts out great content there, so I checked it out. I would recommend you go check it out. It's called Studio Spotlight 9. He's a father and a husband. He is a double organ transplant recipient. So I feel that will be in the conversation a little more as we dive into this. Charismatic, confident, and he wants to change the world through love and respect, which I think is awesome, and which is part of the reason why I have him on here today. So let's bring him on. Phil,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm doing really well, Kenny. How are you?
I am doing absolutely fabulous today. Thank you.
Awesome. I mean, sometimes, you hear that saying sometimes, like, that's the best you can hope for, right? And I'm like, not necessarily the truth, but like every day I feel like you could hope for your best day, like, and years ago I would think about that and go, like there's one best day. Like, how can everything be that? But it's like, well, today could be my best day. Then what if I improve on it tomorrow and the next day and the next day? Like, they're all awesome. And you just keep building.
Absolutely. And you don't have to settle. Like you said, tomorrow can be better than today. The best day ever is because you haven't lived tomorrow yet.
Exactly. Like, if like, I feel like it's almost putting yourself in a place of, ready for bad. If you're like, well, this day 17 years ago or whatever was the best day I ever had, like nothing can top that. Like, what are you aiming for? Like, you got to go for something. Otherwise, you're just going to go, yeah, everything's good. I don't want anything else. Then pretty soon everything's not going to be good because you're going to get in that. And I know I've been there plenty of times in my life where I just stopped caring. That's exactly what happened to me, but certainly care now. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, if that day 17 years ago was your best day, certainly not to devalue that day because I'm sure that was great. But if that was your best day, you need to contact one of us because we need to talk.
Like, we got to get talking a little bit, get something going for the future that you're looking forward to. That's one of the biggest things. I always have something, at least like on my calendar, where I can go, yeah, I'm looking forward to this because this is freaking awesome. And then because I know I had probably decades where it was like nothing to look forward to. Felt like I didn't really know that many people. People I did know, I don't feel like even really liked me. Like, All those kind of things. But then it was like, it doesn't have to be that way. And certainly come a long way since.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, we'll jump into that more because we're always evolving, we're always changing and stuff. I made a note before I brought you on about something awesome that we're both
Yeah.
um, doing today, and which I think ties in perfectly with evolving and making the next best day and looking forward to things and shooting high. And as you might have seen on both of our Facebook page and social media, we are both presenters at a symposium coming up next month.
Yeah, that's gonna be super awesome.
And
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. And there's a lot of great speakers. Tell me how did you for you, how was that tie into becoming looking forward to whatever and making tomorrow the best day? And
Yeah, so that's gonna take me back probably not quite 5 years, like 2017, I'd gotten to a point to where I mean, I can take a step back even more. 2015, I got diagnosed with chronic kidney disease, not good news whatsoever. And I'd been a type 1 diabetic since before I could remember. And I was 7 years old. I got diagnosed as a diabetic. And then years and years of that ended up with, kidneys had issues. So 2017 was a time of, I wasn't quite at that point of ready for the transplant yet because you have to be like, for your kidney particularly, it has to be in a space of it can only have this much function or less, like before you can even make the list. And I wasn't there yet, but it was at a point of it's gonna get there, trust me. It's just this slow decline, and you have to sit there and kind of watch it. Try to take care of yourself the best you could. But I really was in a mindset of, man, I just screwed everything up. Like all these things are my fault, which when it comes down to it, it really wasn't. But in that space of why do I even want to have things be better? Like I'm only going to screw them up. So later that year, I had a friend who probably lived like a half a mile from our house. Both of us have since moved to different areas, but kind of gifted me these tickets, and me and my wife tickets to this kind of personal development event that was happening. Typical guy as I was like, I don't know about this. Like, this sounds like something where you're gonna try to just make me go there so you can fix me. Like that was how I was kind of looking at it. Then I went there because again, typical guy thing. My wife said I'm going, so guess what? I'm going. That's kind of where I was at. So I said, all right, I'm gonna go, but I'm not sure what I'm gonna think about this. And as it was like this 3 day long thing. And for 2 of the days, I had to work. And at that point, I worked like super duper early in the morning. Like I'd be there by like 4 or 5. And this event wasn't happening until like, I don't remember exactly, but like 10. I'm like, hey, after I finish work, I could probably show up to this event after lunch those 2 days. So I went the whole first day and I was like, well, dang, this is not what I expected. They're not sitting here just pointing fingers, fix this, dude. This just wasn't how it was. And through these 3 days, I was like, I feel like I missed something here because I missed half of 2 of the days. And I was like, I need to come back to this thing. And they were offering like a, return ticket price. Like, hey, this is the next time it's going to happen. And it's only going to cost this much. I was like, well, heck, I can afford that. I'm going to buy a ticket and go to this thing and make sure I have the time off so I don't miss everything that's happening. So I did that, and I sat there and I saw this guy up on stage. And he's just talking, doing his thing, and teaching. And it's like the whole audience in the palm of his hand. I was like, how is he doing that? Like, holy crap, this is awesome. And it wasn't in a like manipulative way. It was he's charismatic. Like just people drawn to him because how he was. And I'd been told prior to that, like, dude, you're like, when you talk, people just want to listen. But at that point, I was like, I don't want to talk. Like, why would I do that? I'm going to screw something up and people are going to hate me. But, I come home after the third day of this thing, and my wife's like, yeah, how was it? Like, what did you think? And I was like, I kind of want to do what I just saw that guy do, which was a big moment for me and my wife, because my wife was like, I know you like your job, but like, what is it that's your dream? What do you really want to do? So at that point, this is early 2018 now that I'd gotten that return, to go see this again. I was like 4 years ago now, a little bit more than 4 years, I think. Like, I think I got to do that. But then I got into that whole, okay, this dude just had like 1,000 people in the crowd. How do I get there, right? So I just started like, well, what can I do, right? Like, well, I could just push live on this Facebook thing and start talking, I guess. At that point, I've totally gone back and watched some of these things I've done, and I'm like, oh man, I didn't have any freaking presentation skills whatsoever at that point. It's just like rambling, and like that movie Up, right? Like squirrel, and you just kind of go off into something else. Kind of how it was. I was just like, what am I doing here, right? I'm like, all right, I got to learn how to do this better, because I went for a good almost, I'd say probably like 9 or 10 months where I was just doing that. And I had gotten involved with the same presenter and like doing some other programs that he was offering. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna, kind of see what this can help me build. So started doing that and started to through that, because you're getting into groups that are, instead of 1,000, it's like, hey, here's 20 or 30 people. You can actually have relationships in one way or another with these people. You get to know each other better. So I started doing that. And then through one of those people that I'd kind of been working with in one of those groups, she kind of just sent me a message one day. I was like, hey, I think you need to meet this person. He's kind of starting this group. It was a men's group that was kind of happening. I was like, well, this is good, because I feel like there's not a lot of men doing this, at that point. So I was like, I'm going to check this out. And then through that, I met another friend who he's one of my best friends to this day. And through knowing him, man, like it's like the door. It's like, you've heard that phrase, like you get your foot in the door, right? It was like with him, it was like drop kicking the door off the hinges, just about. Like doors open. Now I know some more people, and he would just kind of start including me and stuff with other people. He's like, I think y'all need to know this guy. Like, you need to meet this guy. Like, he's super awesome. And, within a couple of months of meeting him is when my transplant occurred. I got the 2 organs, and that's a whole big story of it. Ups and downs and almost dying and all these things all put together. But my friend at that point, he knew. I was like, man, it doesn't seem like it's going to be easy for him to go through all these things. I'm just going to do what I can. I'm just going to talk to him. Like, we'll just be friends. We're not going to expect anything. But so there was a while, like this men's group I was a part of at that point, I just didn't. It's like, look, I'm in a surgery. I cannot attend our meeting. Like, not going to happen. But it's like super patient with me. He's like, dude, whatever you can do. Like, if you just want to jump on a Zoom with us and you can only last 5 minutes, jump on. We want to have you here because we love you, we respect you, we care about you. Like, well, dang. So we start doing that, and I'm starting to get to know more people. And what I'm doing is starting to reach more people at that point. And, I'm still going to like these awesome in-person events that are happening, meeting more people, and then boom, everything gets shut down. Nobody's leaving their houses. It's almost like the whole world was on fire and everybody's like, nope, can't go outside anymore. I mean, you know exactly what happened with that. It's like, can I go outside today? I don't know. Especially with me, with a compromised immune system at that point. I'd had 2 transplanted organs for about a year. And I was like, I'd been to the hospital 2 more times during that. I was like, man, I got these bad infections where I legitimately almost died on both of them. But I didn't, by being blessed from above and honestly by knowing myself even better, was able to make it through those. So it's like, well, now what on earth can I do? There's nowhere to go. Like, you have to make an appointment to go to the grocery store, it feels like, in order to
Mhm.
at that point. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna start. So the first thing I did, where I was like, and again, I go to what men do a lot because I mean, I'm a man. Like, look at me. So one of the top things, and Kenny, I'm sure you'll agree with this. One of the top things in our lives is our kids. Like, it's just they're so important to us and take such a priority. And at that point, schools were shutting down. And my youngest at that point was too young for school, but he'd been in daycare. And then my oldest had been in preschool. And they were both going to the same place. This daycare also offered a preschool. I was like, hey, this is great. And his little brother can be there with him. And I kind of get him out there with other kids, right? But COVID happens and poof, shut down. I'm like, all right, what can I do for my kids? Because I know they liked being there with other kids and being able to play and have their friends. And I said, huh, what did they like? Because having been home, I'd been home with the kids for about a year at that point because I couldn't go back to work yet with everything that had happened. I was like, okay, what was I always doing? And I was like, ooh, I was helping them pick stuff to bring to their daycare preschool for show and tell. Like, okay, today's this letter, like, E, let's bring this elephant toy or whatever. And I was like, what? I was like, they like doing that. They're excited. They're asking me every morning, hey, how can I bring for this letter? We can't go anywhere, but we have this technology right here that we're using. There's all kinds of different platforms that we can do it on. I was like, my kids have a bunch of cousins that are little kids too. And I know my brothers-in-laws and sisters-in-law that have kids are like, man, I want stuff for my kids to do too, but is it safe to even do anything? Well, we're not gonna infect each other through this pandemic through technology like this. Let's do show and tell a couple times a week on here. They're like, ooh, I really like this idea. So it was like, okay, here's the letter or here's the topic of the day or whatever. And everybody would come on and we'd seriously be on for 15 minutes because that's far too long for little kids' attention span at that point. Well, like everybody would just get to come on and just have their, hey, this is what I got. Like, check out my doll or check out this cool Power Ranger thing I got or whatever. And they loved it. They loved it. Well, you can't do that forever. So we didn't do it forever. And eventually kids get to go back to school and everything happens. And I was like, what could I do otherwise? Because I was like, this is working for kids. Can this work for adults too? Yeah, I think it can. Like, I know a bunch of people that want to get their message out there, you know, and they just don't know how. Because at that point, I'd been trying for a good 2 years and I'd started building like, hey, people actually watch what I do and are affected by what I'm saying and teaching. And thought, wow, I can. What if I start something? What That's one of my favorite questions too. What if dot dot dot? Like, you can see it.
The famous question.
Love that question. It's got to be my top one. And I know so many people are like, yeah, but that's like, you're just going to get so much negative out of that. Like, why? What if I choose not to? What if I choose to say, what if I create this awesome thing that helps people? What if that makes a difference to them and their family? What if it makes a difference to me and my family? Huh. Because really, the worst thing that can happen is stay exactly the same as I am. And that's in a pretty good space. Like, what if I want better? What if I want even more? What if I want to keep getting more out there and helping more people? And so that's how I created my online platform, because I looked at it and said, what would I have done a couple of years ago to try to get myself out there? Like, what would this have done for me if someone was just like, hey, come on this thing and start talking and talk about what you do, or talk about what you're offering, or what your business is, and what you want to teach people? What's that the thing you want to help people with? Man, that would have been so helpful. It would have been like more people notice you quick, so much faster that way, as opposed to me just hitting live and going, all my friends and family members that already know all of this stuff are watching because I cut your ear off to no end. Like, but I can build this with other people, because I know for me, like, if somebody like you is going to say, hey, come on here and let's just chat, like, let's talk, I'm going to say, I'm going to go out there and go, hey, let's I'm going to be like, hey, people I know, check this out. And then what are they going to do? They're going to see who you are at the same time. You're like, huh, I like this guy too, I want to check out what he does. And like, it just builds itself that way. But then when it comes to this, symposium that we're both going to be presenting at, like, person running it, you know, I've met her through all the interactions I've had with in the last several years. We've got to know each other. Like, I've spoken at two other of these symposiums, and it's freaking awesome. Like, I think about, a couple of years ago, if someone was like, "Hey, I need you to speak for like 45 minutes," I'd have been like, um, I guess in 45 minutes I can give every bit of knowledge I could possibly know, you know. But now it's like, I could give this much in 45 minutes and make a bigger impact than with this much. And it's such a big deal to me. Like, the little things make such a freaking difference. Like, it's mind boggling to me how I've always thought in like these big terms, and it doesn't move me as much as focusing something like this. Gets me going the right direction, and then it just builds. The momentum just, it's like that boulder rolling down the hill. Starts slow, but by the time it reaches the bottom, it's like, freaking get out of the way. I'm gonna run you over.
I love that. And you covered a bunch of little things
Oh
in
yeah.
just that last couple minutes.
Oh yeah.
And I wanna start and really emphasize the what if. But going back to the 3-day thing that you attended, first of all, because your wife said you were going to.
Yeah.
A lot of people take the what if on the negative aspect. What if I don't like it? What if it doesn't do anything? What if it's a waste of money? Or on the first event you spoke at, what if people don't like me? What if I make a fool of myself? Blah 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 blah. What if? What if? What if? What if? What if ET comes back and lands on my car while I'm going down the freeway?
Exactly. Right.
you know. And I love how you flip that around, and you're like, what if I get on there and I make a fool of myself, but I move past that next step of fear? What if
Right.
I help one other person in that room, or I impact one person enough that they refer me to someone else that I've never met before. Kind of like that friend you talked about who said, "I think you need to meet this person." You know, what if in that regard? I love how you focused on that, and that's kind of the whole thing behind the show here is focusing on what's out there, what's possible, what's next. What if I love what I do? What if I this and this in a positive way?
My gosh, and I think just there's so many like little examples of that. So it was December, I was speaking like at an actual event, like in person. We've had a bunch of virtual ones in the past couple of years. There've been less in-person ones, but they're happening. And I'm telling this story because I only had like 5 minutes, on this stage. And so I'm telling this story, and I get to this point, and I make this comment, and like everybody just starts dying laughing. I'm like, and my brain immediately went to, well, that wasn't what I was going for, but like I got it. Like what I said came across as funny to them because now I can look back on it and go, huh, I can actually use that in there because it's just part of who I am. Like my kids, like we could all be serious doing something and I'll just say something and they'll just start like dying laughing. Like this is normal. And I got feedback from speaking at this thing because it was like a speaking competition, kind of thing that was happening. And one of the people was like, he knows me, fairly well. And he's like, I love your message. I love your passion and the power you have with the words you use. He's like, but what you need to do is draw on more of who you really are. And he's like, we've been in the car together for an hour just talking. And he's like, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but you're kind of quirky. He's like, and that's not bad. I'm like, don't take it in that negative light. I'm like, yeah, fair point. You're right. you know, that's just part of who I am. Like, he's like, so use that because if you're being more of who you are, even if you screw up, people aren't going to care because are they going to care about? And one of the things I was teaching a lesson to my kids yesterday was you have these, like sometimes they're your words and your actions don't match. And if that's the case, which do you believe? You believe the actions. That's just kind of how that goes. And it's like, even if my words aren't the best, if people can really feel like this dude's as genuine as possible, like he's not putting on a show, this is just him. They're not going to care if I use a wrong word. They're not going to care if I screwed up the story. They're going to want to hear more. And that's just the direction it goes. It doesn't matter if I mess up. Like I've messed up in speaking so many times, it's insane. It's just like I think anybody that does it is like, dude, I've messed up so many times, it's wild. But people don't know it if you don't acknowledge it. You just go and you keep talking. Or you could acknowledge it, be like, oh man, I really screwed up there. But anyways, and then keep moving. And it works out really well.
Yeah, and like you said, you could use it as your story. You could, what if I mess up? And when you mess up, you're like, and then walk off the stage and never do it again. If you let yourself.
Right.
Or if you turn it around and, what if I mess up? Okay, now I have more story for my next time, whatever.
Exactly.
And your story will include 2 years ago when I was on this stage, I fumbled up bad and blah da da da. So
Exactly. It's just, and I think that's one of the things that people, there's kind of two schools of thought on it a lot of times of like, man, if I screw up, people are just not going to care about me or they're going to hate me or whatever, which I think is, pretty prevalent out there. But there's also that like, man, if I can just go out there and be vulnerable and be like, man, I really screwed this up, people are going to go, huh, he's not preaching to me that he's perfect. Maybe I got a shot too. Because
exactly.
none of us are perfect. In this life, we can't hope to be. We're just not going to be. We're going to screw up. And that's okay. It's part of the learning as we go.
And I think that has a bigger impact than a perfect message would have.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I do, so no doubt, if I'm speaking in a competition or something like that, I'm going to practice a bit what I'm saying. I know some people who are going to say, "Man, I had to practice for like a month to get ready for this," and like there were people that were there that said that. But you have to honor who you are. Like that's not me. If I practice for a month, it's going to be so rehearsed and so just not who I am that I don't feel it anymore. I have to feel it, what I'm saying, and be able to like change on the fly if I feel it. And it just works so much better because the year before I'd spoke in this competition was kind of the first time I really put myself out there in something like that. I'm like, I was not great. Let's say I was not great. But I went to it again this past year and like, you get to speak a few times and get feedback and improve. And the first time I went up there, I finished my thing and a couple of the people in the room were the same. They were kind of giving the feedback from the year before, and they were just like, "You're not even like the same person. Holy crap! That was insane. That was so good." Like, and for that, honestly, I'd been developing what I wanted to say over the course of several months. I was not practicing it, like nothing along those lines, because I don't need to practice something that happened to me, that I experienced, that I know how I feel. I know the difference it made to me. Like, I know those things. I don't need to practice that. I know it. It's what it is. To me, it's almost like, sure, when my oldest son's in first grade, he's learning some basic math and stuff. I don't need to practice those every day anymore. 2 plus 2 is 4. Like, it's what it is. It's not going to change. I don't need to practice that to know that anymore. I know it's the truth. Just like I know the power a story I can tell has because I've experienced it and I know what I felt. So I don't need to practice it. If someone else does, awesome, go for it. Like you just got to identify what's best for you, even if that's not how most people will do it, and be okay with it.
Yeah, and delivering a message, without a script or whatever, can be absolutely terrifying.
Yep.
Like with my show, I have kind of an outline. I've got my notes over here. That's why you see me glancing out here.
Yeah,
I have an
totally.
outline, but I don't have a set script. We didn't rehearse this beforehand or anything like that. And sometimes, especially when I'm going solo, I don't have a script that I practice. I have a few key points that I want to cover, but it's still terrifying to be
Totally.
on camera,
Yeah,
and but it's exhilarating and it's liberating, freeing at the same time. It's
absolutely.
it's like all of them wrapped up in one. You're not sure which way to go from one second to the other.
Totally. And like I felt the exact same way for a long time. And like there's still occasionally I'll feel that way. But as you've probably experienced over time, it's like the freeing, exhilarating is bigger than the fear part that's there. And if you feel fear, great. Like like we look at some of these emotions out there sometimes and we identify them as good or bad. And it's not none of the emotions are necessarily good or bad. What we do with them can be good or bad. But like I'm not gonna lie, there are times I feel angry. Is it bad that I feel angry? No, it's not. Now, if it were I feel angry and I go take a hammer to the next door neighbor's house, that's bad. Don't do that. But the feeling angry part, that's not bad. Like feeling happy, it's feeling happy. Feeling any emotion is you're feeling it. Sometimes you just need to let yourself feel it.
Yeah, and accept it, realize that's part of who you are, and then, like you said, process it correctly, and you still control how you respond to those feelings.
Absolutely. And that gives you like that power over it in the end.
Absolutely, and then it makes it a whole lot better experience when you do that. And I'll use another example of when I've had guests on my show, such as yourself, that have a lot more experience with speaking and doing this sort of stuff or whatever. I'm like, oh crap, what if I mess up with them on my show,
Totally.
or it's like a brand new painter next to Picasso sort of thing. I'm like, who am I to stand next to Picasso? You know,
Right.
but going in it and knowing that with that feedback and the stuff, or that you mess up and you're scared and nervous, that's part of who you are. That's part of your story. And that feedback, you take it as learning and growing versus negativity. You're going to get a whole lot more out of that, and your message will be more impactful, not only for you but for your audience.
Absolutely. And I think, you always have to have some kind of fun in what you're doing. Like, it's the same competition I was at. I had a friend, and she's awesome. Like, in that same year span, like, holy crap, the growth she had is insane. Like, I'm so proud of her for what she's done. But what she did was, I don't remember, it was like the second or the third time, she was given her presentation, and the stage it had like the stage was like probably 2 feet elevated above the floor of the room it was in. And she walks up there, they call her name because they're kind of just pulling names from a hat, like, hey, this person, now this person. She didn't have a, hey, this is the order. Now I'm going to go leave for a while or whatever. It's like you can be called whenever. So call her name. She starts walking up there and she stops at the edge of the stage and just like, boom, jumps up onto the stage. Like, clears the 2 feet, lands on the stage. It was like, dang, that's powerful. And then she went right into her thing. Like, she did that, like, it wasn't planned. It was just like, hey, I think this is going to be something. I kind of want to do it. Just went and did it. Which I think, you know, one of the little things. So I love speaking in person. I also love speaking virtually because virtually there are things you can do you really can't do in person. Like, I know there are people out there that say things like, "Oh, it's just virtually is not as personal or whatever," and I totally get it. But it's like I could do, one of the things I did, it was probably, geez, over a year ago now. I was in this online speaking thing and, kind of crafting what we're doing. And one of our assignments that we had in this was pick a poem, go on Facebook Live, and like really put your heart and soul in this and do it, right? And I was like, okay, what extra can I do on this that makes this different? And like I understood all the places to pause, all of those things. I was like, but something that's a part of me is facial expressions and what I do with my body at the time I do things. It's like, how can I? And this is like not me actively thinking about this. This is like subconscious, turning. I'm like, okay, and then it kind of pulls out. And I got to this point in the poem. It was towards the end. And I just went like this and like brought the people in to my face to drive home that point. I was like, you can draw the camera in. Like, makes it seem more personal. Like I'm looking right into your soul, giving this one last point. And it's little things. Did anybody else do that I'm aware of? Nope. Was I different for doing it? Yep, sure was. But different's not bad. Like, if you do something different than others, awesome. Do it. Be confident that's what you do. And just accept, hey, this is me. I'm not gonna just because everybody else wouldn't do this doesn't mean I can't. Because in this, I mean, and there's obviously exceptions to rules. Like there are laws and stuff out there. Like just because everybody else doesn't kill does not mean you should. Don't do that. you know, but in the sense of a lot of people won't pull the camera closer to them. If I come into the camera and use it like that, is there anything morally or ethically wrong with that? No, there's not. It's just different. And the only thing that would hold people back from it is the judgment of what other people might think. And in that moment, my brain wasn't thinking, this person might not like it. I thought, I think this is going to drive a point home. Let's go. And the feedback I got from it afterwards from the person teaching this class was like, when you did that, that freaking drove it home. Like, she was just like, that is an absolute genius use of the technology you had. Like, utilize things like that if you're feeling it. It's like, I don't see other people doing that, but it certainly worked for what you were doing here. I was like, all right, there's validation right there. I know this worked. Do things different sometimes.
Yeah. And a couple things I want to touch on with that is you brought up thinking what others are thinking about what you do or what you're thinking. And there's a quote, and I'm going to butcher it, but you'll get the ideas. People aren't thinking about you. They're thinking about what you're thinking about them. Or they're too busy thinking about what you're thinking about them to think about what you're doing.
Exactly.
So do it anyways. Like you were also alluding to, as long as it's legal, moral, and ethical,
Yep.
Why not?
Exactly. Like, and what's the worst that can happen in that? You figure out how that didn't really work, so let's not go there again. Let's try something different. Like, push the negative away, accentuate the positive. Like, if, dancing on stage is not somebody's thing, don't dance on the stage. That's not going to get your message across. But if you're a freaking awesome dancer and that's going to drive it home, try it. Like, go for it. But don't judge it based on what you think someone else is going to think.
Yeah. And also, going back to the what ifs, and we were talking about our children earlier. You get the what if I make a fool of myself and the kids see me? Okay, what if you don't try anything and your kids see that example?
Exactly.
Right now my kid's in the other room. He knows what I'm doing, and he's seen some of the videos and stuff, and he knows how goofy dad can be, but he sees dad doing it, and that gives him permission to try things, and him wanting to expand and grow more. And hey, what if I try this? Hey, what if I get out of the box or out of the norm and do what I like?
Yeah, absolutely.
A shameless plug. He's got his own YouTube channel where he's doing playing video games and stuff like that, and
Awesome.
go for it.
Right.
But if he didn't see dad getting in front of the camera, what are the chances of him doing that? What if?
Exactly. And so, I have a perfect example of that too. My son, he's 7. I have another son who's 4, and he's upstairs, doing his thing, playing. My 7-year-old that's at school right now, 2 years ago, he knew, like, dad does videos. Like, you just see me go into, at that point, we didn't have the house that we lived in. So I used the spare bedroom at my mom's to, have it kind of set up as a studio. And he knew I was doing that, and he would see the things I was making. He came to me and he's like, Dad, so you make videos and stuff. I was like, yeah, why do you ask? It's like, so I kind of want to make some money. I'm like, okay. He's like, so that game that me and mom created? It was just like this little game that like gets kids to want to clean up more. And there's play in it and all kinds of stuff. And it was just like this on this document, and you can cut it into pieces and do what you want. He's like, do you think maybe I could go into the studio with you. You could help me make a video and I could try to sell that. I'm like, yeah, I can. Absolutely.
When? Let's go.
Like, let's go right now. Like, you got it, dude. Hey, he went and did it. And like, I mean, at that point, he's a 5-year-old doing it. He was needing my help to kind of direct him on what to say, because really kind of his first time in front of a camera. So he was nervous and everything. But like, he did it and he sold like 20 of the thing. Like, look at that. It worked. But if I hadn't been doing that, he'd have never even thought of it. Never would have crossed his mind.
Yeah, and those are not scary, but what is that I want to avoid as much as I can? What if my son didn't see that example of dad doing that or whatever? And so those are the what ifs I want to steer away from. What if my son saw me and he went far beyond what dad did? Because that's ultimately what I want. I want my son to overshoot me by a long shot.
Absolutely. Like my son, since then, he's come up with so many things where he's like, Dad, how do you like contact Lego to like have to create like a different kind of set that they can sell? I'm like, dude, you're thinking outside the box already. This is awesome.
Oh yeah.
Like, this is great.
That's awesome. I love it. And it's fueling his passion and helping him refine and explore those possibilities. Because 3 months prior, he might not have even known that was available, even an option.
Right. Now he's thinking about those things. Like, and it's so cool to see. Because I definitely feel that same thing of like, I want my kids to so far surpass what I've done. I'm like, I don't stop them because they like talking about, both of them like talking about the mansions they're going to have when they're adults and have their own kids. And I know what would have happened if I talked about those things when I was a kid. Don't think too big, or people don't do those things. I'm like, I'm not going to tell my kids that. If you want to envision, you're going to have this. And my kid yesterday was saying he wanted a 30 million floor mansion. I don't really know if that's possible yet, but like, dude, I'm not going to sit there and say, I don't think about mansions or anything. Like, if that's what you want to go for, freaking go for it.
Heck
Like,
yeah.
I'm not going to tell them to stop. I'm going to guide them along the way of, okay, this is where you are now. You're not at that mansion yet, but keep taking steps towards it and you can get there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And beyond.
Heck yeah. He was talking about wanting a diving board from space into a pool on Earth.
There you go. Is that on the 29th millionth floor or the 30th millionth floor?
I don't know. It has to be a teal mansion.
But that's awesome. Diving into your passion and, like you said, sharing that message. Even if it's not on stage, so many messages are shared by just a smile and a warm handshake.
Yes.
And they could feel when you're genuine and it's coming from who you are and not just, oh, this is the proper thing to do.
Right. Yeah, I have so much experience with that of like, I mean, right now I'm in my house. Like, it's a Friday morning, as we're talking here. And where are most dads? They're out at their job right now, right? So like if I took my oldest to school this morning, about 8:30. It's like I would say 99% of the people that are dropping their kids off were moms. And have I experienced things in the past where I'm like, this seems different? Heck yeah. Like the only dad out of the last 100 cars to come through there was probably me. There's not that many. Or like I'll go pick my kids up from school. There's like a line of moms. Right? I could sit there in discomfort and being like, this is weird. Like, but I don't have to. Like, it's a public school, so I know a lot of these people that are picking up their kids already. Like, they know who I am. We're neighbors. Like, I can talk to them, and that's okay. I can be proud to be a parent, even if I'm the dad and not the mom. Like, nothing wrong with that. Like, nothing wrong with, I like to cook dinner. I just do. I love to cook. Like, not the typical, normal, stereotypical, what you think of, but neither's bad. Like, it's different when my wife comes home from work and there's something delicious in the oven or on the stove, and she walks in the door and goes, she's like, this is going to be awesome. Like, and it's great.
Yeah, it's awesome how you get more out of it when you're doing it to serve others. I like to cook and I like to try new things and stuff, whatever. But it makes me happier when I see my wife and kid enjoying that meal.
Yeah.
I'll think it's delicious and stuff and whatever, but it'll make me happy. I'll get more fulfillment because I did it for them, because I served others, whatever.
And yeah, it's so cool because like you can look at it and like you can tell your wife or your kids like it, and then it tastes even better to you
Oh yeah.
because they liked it. And like, oh, they liked it. This must be freaking awesome. Like, then you take that first bite and you're like, oh yeah, I did good. Like, this is great.
Yeah. I love it, and then it makes you want to do it more often, do even better and stuff, and push yourself even more.
Oh
So,
yeah,
um,
absolutely.
you have a special treat for this. Is that correct?
I believe so. Yes.
Awesome. You share about that for a minute.
Yeah. So kind of, in the what I want to do is, I mean, you stated at the beginning, like everybody probably come check out Studio Spotlight 9. It's a Facebook group. What you're gonna get, I mean, and there's a YouTube channel with it too. The bigger following is definitely in the Facebook group. I want people, I invite people to come check that out. And what I am offering for people, if they have that message that they're really wanting, that they're like, there's this message that I really want to share. I just don't really know like what I'm really doing. Like, I'm saying, like, send me a message, find me through Facebook, and I'm gonna give 15 minutes of my time just because I do have a unique way of helping people craft what that message is, you know, because I love studying, looking at how people are kind of talking when they're telling me about what their message is. It's like I can almost close my eyes and visualize, see them. Like, ooh, try this, try this. So I want to offer 15 minutes where I just meet with people that are interested, and let's just talk a little bit about what exactly it is that you want to get out there. And maybe, just maybe, you can learn a few things, maybe some new ways of kind of try to get your message out there. Try it. We'll see how it goes from there.
Awesome. That is amazing. Thank you for that. And I can attest to that because every minute I've spent talking to you has been 100% worth it. So, I would encourage everyone who watching this to go to those groups on Facebook. Just find them on Facebook. Again, I'll put his direct Facebook page up again. Go find him there, reach out to him, connect with him, and take advantage of this. This is something very valuable, something worth every minute of it. So I'd highly encourage that. Phil, thank you so much for being on here. It's been an awesome pleasure. I've loved it. The conversation has been amazing. And now I'm looking forward to our next conversation. And I'm really looking forward to the symposium that we are. And for anyone, again, just great event going on. I'll have more info up later and whatnot to our both of our Facebook pages. You can find the info there directly as well. So phenomenal speakers. I am very fortunate to be a part of it, to be even on the same room with them, because they are just amazing and phenomenal. So again, please go check that out. Go through our Facebook pages to find more info on that.
And it's going to be super cool. Like one of the, I loved the last two that I've been able to speak at. Like just learning from the others, because there's so many different ideas and perspectives out there. I love taking in, like, and so many people think about this thing of like, oh, I'm just copying someone else. No, because you take the things you've learned into you and use it for you, and then you express it differently than anybody else possibly can. Like me pulling the camera in closer. I've seen other people do it, I'm not gonna lie, but when I do it, it's different than when someone else does it. And none of us are that same combination as anybody else. Thank you for having me today, Kenny.
Exactly. And to add to that, we could basically take the exact same message, put our own flair on it, but my audience will get more out of, or different out of it, than Phil's audience. He'll, the right message will find the right people. People in Phil's audience may not resonate with me, and vice versa and stuff. But and that's so important to remember, because you're, like you said, you're not copying or whatever. You're putting your own flair on it, and the message will find the right ears.
Absolutely.
So please don't let that stop you from sharing your message.
Yeah. Like there's been so many times where I've heard someone else speak or share a message. I'm like, dang, this is awesome. And there have been times where I'm like, I like the idea of this person's message, but I don't connect with them. That's okay. I know Tony Robbins is one of the biggest names out there. I just don't connect with what he's doing. Not for me. Like, if he's your thing, awesome. Like, get everything you can from it. But it's not my style. It just doesn't resonate with me how I need it. So I'll get mine elsewhere. Absolutely zero wrong with that.
Absolutely. So never let that stop you from sharing your message and whatnot, and living your passion. And as always, live your passion, fulfill your purpose, and explore the possibilities.